I could really use some minis. Let me grab some minis. Oh, what's going on? Let's grab some minis. Yep. Just doing a talk today about showing off everything I've crafted over the past year. And want to do a small game review of last Sunday night's game, because that was pure insanity. Players did what I least expected, as always. That's why planning too much is just useless sometimes. Alright. So, let's set up some minis here. We got our cast of characters. This is our crew. This is Captain Crit. Oh, not left Millie. She's got a little Morphe behind us with her. It's our newest member, Pepto. It's me. Guy Robot 3435. We got Artemis going on. Sector always standing by his captain. Orion, the Riot bot, was fighting with us. Peace bot now. Former Riot bot. Here, we'll put that there for Millie. And then the big final boss they fought, Timu. The old notorious 20-heart monster. Alright, but for now, let's get into everything that I've crafted so far. So let's take this down. I'm going to flip the camera around here so you're not looking at my face. Take a sip of drink. Okay. Hello. And we're back. Sorry about that. Got a phone call. That was from my fellow guitar player in the band. I'm going to do some jamming today. But anyway, I want to start with the real early stuff. Let me move some of this out of here because I got a whole board set up. I made out of all the terrain. Well, here, I can show you that. I don't really have an idea for it first. But, I don't know if they should start on this side and start in the crazy lava, or maybe start in space and then they work their way down through this like foresty area and then down into this uh, icy cavern, and then through the icy cavern into the like deeper recesses of the stone area, where they come into this big giant, uh, where the roof would be huge, I guess. And they have to try and scale their way down this like sheer cliff face drop that leads just down to the bottom. And then I seen Hank's rock golem sculpt, which is gonna be the next thing I build. But I figured this is like the little summoning area where these piles of rocks are being gathered together to create the rock golem. And then I've got the my little crates I put everywhere for loot. I don't know if you can see it. I shake so freaking bad. There you go. And just small little barrels. There's some little boxes I've made. There's another set somewhere. Where did I stick them? Oh, right there. Those were my 3 boxes that were actually I crafted for the campaign that just ended. That's this story little thing I'm going to tell. But in progression of the stuff I've made, I made the black like space stuff first. It was just super easy, and if you look at it kind of close, you can see it was just black, and then I just toothbrush like flicked on like white red specks and stuff like that to give it that kind of starry effect on it. I ended up repurposing a lot of it that I wasn't happy with because none of my boards were cut even or anything like that. One of my fellow DMs just actually repurposed these boards. They were first like this kind of side color that I had painted them as, and he repurposed them and then ran a heat gun across and added a river into it and this little pond area, so those ended up looking a lot cooler. I actually just last night did a last finish a black wash on them, and it cleared up a lot of the styrofoam that was still showing through. But my dungeon stackers, these are the most useful things, I mean, to build if you're crafting. It's like Legos for it. I use them for almost anything. You can make walls out of them, just giant pillars, stuff like that. What else? Altars. Of course, giant staircases. Let's see. After that, I crafted. Oh, this is my just little Game of board that I made. Here, I'll hold that up to the camera. It's small enough. The Game of is like 25 or 2,500 or 3,000 years old. I forget off the top of my head. I think it was an ancient Sumerian game or Babylonian game. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I ended up making a ship race based out of it in Warp Shell off of just this small board, but the board is blown up to be able to hold 4 racers, I think. Yeah, 4 racers in the game. But it's really fun. Just look up the Game of on YouTube, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The ice terrain was the next thing I crafted, and it's still one of the things I'm proud of the most. Like, I took my sweet time with it. The texturing just came out really beautiful on it. I love my little glass cases back here, which I got another crafting tip from Hank. Hank. Comes from Gilhelm. But, yeah. Those things are awesome. Haven't really got a chance to use them yet. But, after that, that's when I started making all this crazy stone terrain. All these little set pieces I made, like little doors, these trees, those wooden doors, these odd, you could see the difference in the gray and this gray stone, and the stairs as well. Those were all made at separate times, so when I was testing out paint configurations and everything. But yeah, the stone set. Another thing, I learned my lesson from making the ice set. If you take your time and like plan it all out, make it look nice, think about what you want to build beforehand and the set pieces you want to have, then it comes out a lot nicer than just trying to improv stuff for me. But these stairs were also made by a he tried to make some stairs by a player that DMs in my group. He loved my stackers, but his came out a lot better than mine. He started taking all my foliage off. Yeah. I think his came out a lot prettier than mine. They're just a little clunkier, but nothing wrong with that. They still stack nice. Alright. The tower is the most recent thing that I have made and just used in the last game. It's a 1.5 feet tall. I think it has 22 steps, and I want to do Hank's drinking game, the Tower of Death, out of it with my table group one day. But I really wanted it for the chapter closing for the campaign that I just ran, and because the fight was in space, so I wanted that kind of vertical of where am I? Are you above the enemy? Are you below the enemy? Are you to the side of him? Left, right? Like, have that real spacey feel of you can go float anywhere in your jetpack. But after that, I made the lava set. A lot of these different colored red pieces, like the pillars and the doors, that's again from like, I made that around the same time as I made the black stuff, the space tiles, because I was still really getting into like crafting, trying to figure it out, and I wasn't even watching videos. I just grabbed some phone and started going. But I made a warp shell little ship. I thought it came out pretty decent. I'm happy with it. Again, this was meant to be like, kind of like a lava set, but I overdid it with the gold, and it doesn't really have that kind of lava-esque planet. Looks a lot more to me like a No Man's Sky type planet more than it does lava. Just an odd, fiery hell planet or something. But that's another piece that was made by a player in my group. I don't want to give his name away because I don't know how he feels about that. But Artemis is his player name, and Saison as well, the drunken monk. But yeah, that thing came out crazy. Door open. He loves Fallout, so a vault door in the foam was like first thing he wanted to build. But that's pretty much it. I've got a couple like little monoliths that I've made. These little hero coins that came from a... Sorry, there's so many people in the Google Plus group, it's hard to remember names, and they give me so many ideas. Check out the Google Plus group, you'll see his post. His look way better than mine. But yeah, those are fun little things. I can use them as teleport pads. I can use them as like monster spawners. I can use them as crazy ritual casting things. Just places to put loot on top of. Anything. Imagination is it. Yeah, I've also made these little ladders here out of foam. Oop, dropping more stuff. But yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I've crafted so far. Artemis made that this wooden bridge here, but still needs to be stained and painted. I also made a Pokeball that I gave to somebody because they love Pokemon in our game, and then I was just really bored one day, and I know it's creepy, but I made a Charmander out of foam. I love the little dude. I want to give it to her character in the game and start like having her discover Pokemon along the way that she'll be able to carry. Maybe even keep it like at 6, just like in real Pokemon. But yeah. Anyway, let me put this back down. Flip this back out. Here, we'll come in closer. Make some room here. Ooh. Can you see that? Let's see. That's not going to work very well, is it? That is backwards. Why is it backwards? I guess because I'm looking on this camera. Flip it around. Oh, here we go anyway. I'll just try and hold it. Alright, so this is my DM tome. It's 250 pages. First thing I did was take the oath, which is in the ICRPG core book. I will let the torrent flow. I will remember everything. I will build a world from their actions. I will be an architect. I will be poetic. I will be energetic. I will lift them up and vanish. I will be a beacon of camaraderie, and I will be a terror to behold. Signed, Chris Kaufman. Alright, and me, I love ICRPG for Worktail, so, like always, gotta stick that just glamorous front page. This is something that I always like to keep in mind when thinking about ICRPG are the timers, threats, and treats. In blank D rounds, something's going to happen. Threat, traps, monsters, danger, right? Treats, to be discovered, gives an edge to the players, basically, while they're fighting or trying to solve puzzles. Location, obstacle, goal, the best thing to easiest format to come up with encounters. Where are the heroes? Goal. Why are they here? Obstacle. What stands in the way? That's it. Right. Next page. We got reading list of stuff. I'm not going to read off everything on there. That's stuff. Some of this stuff I've already read. I just or listened to on audiobook. I would like to just physically read it as well to be able to take notes. But you get the gist of that. Right. This was a warp shell timeline. My campaign so far. And there we go. The first night we ever ran ICRPG was Monoliths and Pirates and Boreworms. Oh my. That was something that I just kind of improv because I was expecting character creation to take a lot longer, and just like 5th edition, us to spend the whole first night making characters. That didn't really happen. So my group was like, let's play, and I kind of had an idea, but like kind of didn't, so we just flowed with it. And parts from it I've carried on through, of course. But after that we ran Last Fight of the Red Sword, and then we had one of my buddies, he ran a crystalline entity encounter. Another buddy ran Planet Scraps, and then I had a like Epiphany after that, and made a big Gaia's Goddess encounter where my my character went missing, and all this other crazy stuff happened. We had the ship race that I was talking about earlier, and this is where so many people started DMing into and me at the same time. We had bar fights, the mystery of the monoliths, where they were starting to figure out about these boxes that they were after. Then they had the attack on Terminator, where they were able to get the first box that was split into 2 nights. Splinter Cell Monks, that was ran by another, and Frost Jackets, that was written by 2 other, or Artemis again from the group. Anu on Pharaon, that was where they got the second box, and then Tome the God of Devouring is where they just finished. Besides that, we'll keep moving on. I did my own personal Ragnarok here for this year, and this is something Hank did at the end of last year, and I'm trying to stick to it as best as I can. A few things checked off so far, weak on others, but every time I start to fall weak, I believe he said this, he said, before you give up, remember why did you start? His little axioms. Oops, flip the camera on, yeah. That was just a page from my band, and that's coming up with a set list for trying to get a show this year. This was me coming up with the original boxes of Devouring, and the 3 casters and the story behind that. This was loot that I was pulling off of the loot tables that I thought was interesting, and made like a D20 roller to hand off instead of keep going back to the book. Then I ran a game one night, and I got really mad at myself because I couldn't... they would ask me, like, who was that mayor's name from that city? And I'm like, I don't know, and like that's like such an important detail, so it like kept making me mad that I wasn't giving everything names. So I just made a list of like I've got like 60, 70 names of just all types of things I can use for planets and NPCs, cities, towns, anything. But this was another big written overview of our Warp Shell campaign, where I was just trying to summarize for myself and remember the events that like took place. This was me coming up with Attack on Terminator. Attack on Terminator was where they found the first box of Devouring. It was made by the ancient caster Siu. The box was hidden underground, but Timu's fleet was attacking the city. The city actually moved on track lines, and was inside of a giant dome glass bubble, and it rode on the Terminator line of the planet, which is the line where it's like constantly in darkness, and the sun is following right behind it. So the heat from the sun was what was driving the city forward, and if they had to protect the city from taking any shots, because the Timu's fleet was controlling these asteroids and trying to shoot down, basically break the tracks to destroy the city, and that ended up happening, and the city ended up being destroyed. But they ended up saving everybody and getting the second box, but just barely managed to make it out with their by the skin of their teeth. And this was me. This was Temu the Technomancer when I came up with him, and the infamous 20-heart monster. Oh, Runehammer's live. I might have to go soon. It's time for cartoons, baby. I'll do a little bit more here. Yeah, that was the crazy last boss that we fought. Or, not we fought, my group fought. I got, I think, 1 round in with him, and then a player cast Dominate Monster and took control of him, and it became a total Viking Death Squad moment, and it was crazy. But, this was more on Attack on Terminator, doodling a Warp Shell. Then my Anu encounter, I wanted it to be on, in Alfheim. I decided to change that, but, yeah, it ended up being on Pharaon after I got the Worlds book in my hands. That was notes from the Splinter Cell of Monks. This was a weekend that we spent out at the Swanee River here in Florida, and I actually sketched out the campground that became the map I used for Faerun Town Map, uh, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I ran a game with them, and they were giving me all kinds of ideas to think about, and I went with a couple buddies that I was like writing books with, so there were some notes on that in there. Crap ton of random counter ideas that I came up with. This is a game my buddy's working on. It is huge. He's trying to world build. This is the planet of the Navagachi. It's called Ariachi. But this was the cracking race of peace. This is what I want to get up to the Google Plus group. This is what I was talking about with the ship race. I'll go into more detail on that later. But anyway, it's more True Selling's Dead. That's a book I'm working on. Tabletop games. I work at Amazon. Every time I see an interesting tabletop game come through, I kind of write it down. Or, of course, when I hear about one, that was coming up with the Faerun encounters, drawing some mystical weapons, ran another random map. This was the complete write-up for Anu and the Hex World of Faerun. I really want to run Tortured Shells. I kind of just copied Hank's drawing from the Warp Shell book, trying to learn of the Warp Shell and the Big Vat system. If you haven't read that as a DM, it's a crazy one, and it sounds fun to run. These were random loots that I had came up with, encounters I definitely want to DM for my group. New song the band's working on. I love Alan Watts, taking some notes on him. There's some Viking Death Squad. Hank's maps for that. Story dice encounters that started coming up. I started getting into the fighting fantasy books, so I started making characters in those books, and of course have died with every one of those so far because they're extremely difficult, but fun, still fun to play. More loot I was coming up with. There was my Dungeon Stackers build notes. More fighting fantasy book. There's this. They're probably getting close to the rest of the Anu encounter stuff. These were just XPF foam crafting tips. There was Splitter Cell of Monks Part 2. Anu on Faerun, an intro. That's when I ran it. There's the events and what happened. I always do full write-ups of the games. Try to remember what the hell happened. This is me coming up with the final assault for Temu. I'm trying to tie in No Man's Sky, so this is some of the lore from No Man's Sky I want to get in to my next campaign. The middle of this page, of this section, I filled with some, not axioms I have came up with, but ones that inspire me. You make yourself miserable, you make yourself strong. Either way, the amount of work is the same. This is from Alan Watts. We play non-bliss in order to experience bliss. This was from Jason Silva. I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. This is from my buddy Chris Peterson. Don't be a bitch. And Simon from Neeps Gaming. Are you a man? So yeah, those kind of help me get through the day and try and make myself make better decisions in life. Things to work on, random ideas, played Super Fight with a couple buddies, short story ideas I want to start writing, Alchemist class I had came up with, which I'll add to the group. This was Temu and the map, the final map I made for him, and that final encounter. No Man's Sky enemies that I came up with, bioforms for the Viking, Korvax, the Gek, and the Travelers. This is me. All my players are, not all my players, but some of my players are trying to, we're going to do backstories, but record them, voice record them in our role-playing, and we're doing like full write-ups, kind of like Hank's doing with his short stories on his Patreon, but we're just going to do it and release them for free. But that's me still writing it up, saving a couple pages. That's where I made Anu's stats, the final little bits I needed for the Temu encounter. Started getting in, studying Ayn Rand and objectivism, taking notes on that. making lists of descriptive words I want to use right now. We're getting caught up here. RPG mainframe. Taking notes on Preface Play. Still need to finish listening to that. Tome, the God of Devouring. I'm doing the full write-up of events right now, and that's the first 100 pages of my DM journal. But I think for now I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to go watch Hank's cartoons. So, thanks everyone for watching or checking this video out later. I'll still come back probably later today and do a full game review of the crazy events of Tome, the God of Devouring, and how that they took down a 20-heart monster. But till next time, strength on ICRPG. See you!